what's up, dude? So last lesson, we touched on this beginner littlewing lesson, and what we did last time, we just touched on, we went over the chord progression. It's always super important to know what the underlying chords are for any song that you learn. That's the first thing that you do. So I'm not going to go into the progression. If you need to look at it, the videos, it's the last video I did, you can go back there and start there. What we're going to do today is to just start looking at these Hendrix embellishments that we can do over these major and minor chords. We're not going to do it exactly to the record. We're just going to start looking at some concepts and how to hold these chords and how to approach them. So we're going to leave the E minor the same, the first chord of the progression. So we're going to start the progression, E minor, and then it goes to the G major, where we're going to start dressing this up. So instead of holding this block chord like this, we're going to do it using the thumb over technique, or the grip, which enables your fingers to move around and frees up for doing these embellishments. And a good way to look at doing this is, remember your G major triad, this shape. Again, that's in the last video. So if you think of how to do this chord, is do that triad and then just get your thumb on the root note. And we're going to forget the A string. We're going to omit the A string. We don't need it. And we're also, for this lesson, like I said, we're not doing it exactly to the record. We're going to forget about the high E. So it's an easy way to start doing this technique is to think of that triad for your major triad, which comes from this shape. And then we're just going to grab the root with our thumb. So you can start just by getting the root note and playing down the triad. So from the E, it's good to try and slide into that root note with your thumb as well. So that's how we can start. That's like, uber basic how we can start approaching, doing this major chord shape. Just sliding into the root and just picking down that triad. Super simple. And then we want the A minor next. But again, we're not going to do this big block A minor. Again, go back, look at the triad we did for it last time, which is this. So the triad, ring finger, our third finger on the root, 7th fret of the D, and then first finger here, instead of barring the whole thing, we're just going to bar the D, G and B strings. And there's our triad on the D, G and B. But again, same as a major chord, we're going to reach over and we're going to grab that root on the low E of the 5th fret. So again, that's a nice simple approach to start looking at this technique. So we've got E minor, and again slide up to the A, and we can play that triad. So we're basically just playing low, root, and then down the triad. Skipping the A string, we're just playing the D, G and B. We need the A, so we do the low E, slide up to the A with our thumb, play the triad. Then we go back to our E, which we can just play the regular chord for now. I'm going to do a separate lesson on that. Then we need the B minor, so we do exactly the same as what we did for the A, but here. Then back down to the A, same again, Then we need to go back into the G, F, which is the same as the G, but as far down as you can go. And then the C and the D, we're just going to do these regular bar chords. So I'll go through that super slow, and then what we'll do, we'll dress it up a little bit more. The idea of this is just get hold of the concepts, do some tiny little embellishing, picking through the triads, holding this position. And once you get used to it, because your hand's gonna ache, and it's gonna take some getting used to playing these triads with your thumb on the top. Just think of it as like yoga for your hands. You've got to start slowly, you've got to keep going through it. You'll get used to it, and the more you get used to it, the more complicated you can start, looking at these more complicated embellishments. So through it, all of it nice and slowly, doing this super basic technique. E minor. So you can already hear the qualities of littlewing coming through just by doing it in that such a simple little way. It's still a way you can play littlewing to someone without just hammering these big chords. You can just start dissecting them, putting in this root note, playing the triads, and you basically you're building, you're starting to play it like Hendrix would. So we're going to look at what a little bit more of what we can do over these chords. So we'll go back to this G major. So we've just been playing low E root and down the triad, but we're going to add in some of these little double stop embellishments, which are in the original. He'd play some other double stops, but we're just going to do this one double stop. So holding this position, thumb on the root and your triad, what we're going to do is you take your third finger off the D string, and you're left with just these two fingers on, and we're going to play the G and the B string. That's our double stop. And when we play it, we're going to hammer our third finger that was on the D. We're now going to hammer it onto the same fret, but on the G string. So we're going to play these two notes, G and the B, and hammer down onto the G. And then we're going to release our finger and play it again. And then we're going to play back to third finger on the D string on the fifth on the root. So first of all, we're going to slide into this G. We're going to play that G, then we're going to play the G here, the octave, with our third finger on the fifth. Then we're going to play that double stop, and we're going to do it twice. That's what we're going to do for the G. That is enough to get you going with these Hendrix embellishments, just that one embellishment for that major chord. So let's start from the beginning. Again, pulling more of that melody out of the chord, it's starting to sound more like the record. So again, that embellishment for the G, we slide in with our thumb, to the G on the root, the G on the low E, then we form our triad and we play the D string where our third finger is, which is also a G. So we've established that G chord just by playing two Gs. Then third finger off, and we're going to strum the G and the B. Hammer onto the G string with our third finger. Then play the two strings again without the third finger. And then we play the root, 5th fret on the D. And we do that whole thing twice. To go to the A. So again, we're going to slide in and we're going to put our triad on. And again, we're going to play the octave root of the A, which is the 7th fret of the D. And then we're going to do double stops again. But the double stops we do this time, it's the same finger barring here. We don't release that finger, we just release our third finger. And again, we pluck the G and the B strings and we hammer down again on the G string, 7th fret. Then we pick the double stop again, double stop, and onto the root. So we're doing exactly the same thing. So that's covered the major chord and the minor. So we can just apply them embellishments, that information, to any of the other shapes, the same shapes that we come across in the progression. So we can do the same for the B minor here. And then when we come back to the A, and then back to the G, we'll do something a little bit different there, which we'll get to. So what we'll do, let's go over this A minor embellishment again. So we've done the G. So we've played the low E root with where our thumb is. And then we come over, remember we're forgetting the A string. So you've got to think of that triad for the minor with our thumb on. We're going to play the low E root, the low E string root on the 5th fret. And then we're going to play the D string where our third finger is, which is also an A. And then we'd put in that double stop twice. That double stop again. The G and the B strings, third finger off. As soon as we've picked it, we hammer onto the G string, 7th fret with our third finger. Then release, play it again, and then we play the root on the D string, 7th fret. We do the whole thing twice. It's always good to try and keep this note ringing. That's one of the key things. That's the practice. That's the exercise. It's going to sound all melodic if you're doing these embellishments, and you can hear, the root note ringing through. It gives that sort of idea that there's two guitars playing at the same time, I suppose. Back to our E, which we're going to leave alone. Then we want the B minor. Exactly the same as what we did for the A. Back to the A. Exactly the same again. Then G. Just do that once. It's the same embellishment, but just do it once. Now I know that F is a bit difficult for the beginners, for your beginners. So what we're going to do for the F, instead of doing the same as what we did for the G, we're just going to take our thumb off and slide this triad up. So it's just going to be an F triad. And we're going to pick the 3rd fret D string root. So we're going to forget about doing the root here because it's a bit difficult. You can if you want, if you do, you're winning. But for now, because I know it's super difficult, the F chord, we're just going to come up from the G. We're going to play the root note on the D string. Then we're going to lift our middle finger up. And again, we're going to play G and B strings. And we pluck them. And we're just going to hammer down that middle finger onto the major 3rd. So it's kind of the same thing. We're picking the D and the G, the G and the B. As soon as we've picked it, we hammer down onto that major 3rd. And we're doing it twice. So it's pick, hammer, pick, hammer. But we do it quickly. So from the B minor. Beginning. So I'm going to go through that nice and slowly a couple of times, and then we'll work on it and keep working on it, and your fingers will get stronger and your hand will adapt more to this thumb over grip style of chords. But you've got to start it slowly and with these basic embellishments, basically getting your thumb used to being there. Oh, I did that completely wrong. Let's start again. there it is basically. I did add a couple of more little tiny bits in there, you know, just try and pick them up. So the main things to take away are, treat it as if it's the triad. We've worked on these triads on the D, G and B strings. There's your major triad for the G, so what we're going to do is bring that thumb over. And then minor. There's your minor triad. Get that thumb over. Get into that another time. And it's a good, you know, just to, you don't have to keep going through the chord progression. If your hand isn't used to this, it's good just to sit there, you know, for about 7 days and just do this. got low E string, 3rd fret, then 3rd finger, 5th fret of the D, both the same note. Then do your little twiddly dum, your little twiddly bit. Hey. Back to our E minor. Back to B. So again, I was using my little finger instead. I did a couple of little other bits, see if that, sparks a bit of inspiration. It's always good to try and, come up with these bits and pieces on your own. And that's what happens with practice. Anyway, I hope the coronavirus isn't too bad in you, mate. See you soon.